So today, we're going to dive into a shift that's not just about some new tech. It's about us. It's about our evolving and, let's be honest, kind of complicated relationship with artificial intelligence at work. And this whole thing is happening way faster than we think, and it's getting really, really personal.
I mean, really think about that for a second. What if your next colleague isn't human? It's a question that's jumping right out of science fiction and into our daily stand-up meetings. The person you're supposed to collaborate with, brainstorm with, maybe even complain about the bad office coffee with. What if they were an algorithm? And the conversation doesn't just stop at colleagues. Because what if AI is your next boss, making decisions about your schedule and how you're performing? Or in a much quieter way, what if it's the thing that classifies and defines you, shaping who you are at work and maybe even outside of it? So how is all of this actually playing out?
Okay, let's start with the most direct interaction, AI as a teammate. For the longest time, AI was just a tool, right? Kind of like a fancy calculator or a superpowered search engine. But that's changing. Now it's being designed to be a partner, an active member of the team. And we're already seeing this in a couple of main ways. You've got the AI as this powerful analyst, crunching numbers in the background, doing things no human possibly could, like reading thousands of reports in minutes. But then he's got the AI as an active, autonomous teammate, one that might scan information, make suggestions, and maybe even have a name. So, to get a grip on how we actually react to this idea, researchers often use a scenario just like this one. They'll introduce people to Jamie, a potential AI teammate. Now, Jamie isn't just some program you click on. It works on its own, it monitors information, and it makes recommendations directly to the team leader. And you'd interact with it just like you would any other colleague. The big question is, how would you feel about Jamie joining your team?
Well, it turns out our feelings are complicated. Research shows that our attitude is this mix of all these different factors. In our heads, we're constantly asking, is this thing useful to me? While also worrying, is it going to replace me? We might feel a little anxious just trying to use it, but at the same time, we're judging how human-like it seems. And, does it actually work well? It's this complex psychological cocktail that really determines whether we welcome or reject our new digital colleagues. And all of this, every one of those feelings, really boils down to one huge, fundamental question: trust. I mean, our professional relationships are built on it. But how in the world do you build trust with something that doesn't have beliefs or intentions or feelings? Well, it turns out our brains has this built-in shortcut for that exact problem. It's called anthropomorphism. And we do this all the time without even thinking about it. When you get mad at your laptop for freezing or you talk to your car. It's a totally natural human thing to see human-like qualities in non-human objects. But when we apply that to AI, it has massive consequences. Okay, let's look at a real-world example. A media company brought in an AI bot to help out with some tasks. It was just code, no physical form at all. But they gave it a human name, Max. And almost immediately, as you can see from this manager, they started talking about Max like it was a real person, a true part of the team. And this right here is where the trouble started. That simple act of naming it Max kicked off this whole chain reaction. Employees started having human-like expectations for it. But Max was just a program. It couldn't understand nuance or context the way a person can. So when it inevitably couldn't meet these unspoken human standards, people didn't just see a buggy program. They saw a stupid and incompetent coworker. And the key takeaway here isn't that the AI was bad, but that our perception of it, shaped by something as simple as a name, was the real issue. This whole thing forces us to ask a much deeper question. When we talk about trusting in AI, are we really talking about the algorithm itself? Or are we actually placing our trust in the developers who made it, the companies that are using it, and the rules that are supposed to be watching over it? The AI doesn't have good intentions, so our trust has to be aimed at the humans behind the curtain. Which brings us to our next point, because AI is no longer just a potential colleague. In a lot of places, especially in the gig economy, it's already the manager. This is called algorithmic management, and it is completely changing what it means to be an employee. And look, this isn't just about making things more efficient. Each one of these functions can have a direct and often negative impact on the worker. Automated scheduling can mean less freedom and a higher workload. Constant performance ratings can make you feel insecure in your job. These so-called nudges can pressure people to work longer hours for less pay.
And in the most extreme cases, these automated systems can even make firing decisions, sometimes based on biased or incomplete data. But it's not all doom and gloom. This isn't a story about technology being inherently evil. Take the case of bus drivers in London. They actually came to accept an algorithmic performance system. Why? Because it was designed the right way. It was transparent, it accounted for things like traffic and road conditions, and the feedback it gave was detailed and felt fair. The critical point is this: the design and the implementation matter so much more than the technology itself. All right, let's shift gears now. Let's move away from the obvious roles like colleague and boss to something way more subtle, but maybe even more powerful: how AI is starting to shape our very sense of self. Come on, we've all been there. Netflix recommends a movie you would never, ever watch, or Spotify suggests a song that feels like a personal insult to your taste in music. Well, this isn't just a small annoyance. Researchers actually have a name for it: an AI classification failure. And it turns out it has a real psychological impact on us. Yeah, there's a real emotional cost. Studies show that when an AI recommendation misses the mark, when it gets you wrong, our feeling of regret is significantly higher. We feel like we just wasted our time and made a bad choice because we trusted the algorithm. So why do we have such a strong, visceral reaction? It's because our choices aren't just random clicks. We use our taste in music, movies, and books as a way to build and express who we are. A recommendation isn't just data. It's a reflection of who the algorithm thinks we are. And when it's totally wrong, it doesn't just feel like a tech glitch. It feels like it fundamentally misunderstood us. Just think about your own life for a second. Your playlists, your watch history, are they just lists of data? Or are they, in some way, part of your identity? For a lot of us, the algorithm is becoming this weird, unexpected mirror, and we don't always like what we see looking back. So where does all this leave us? As we weave AI more and more deeply into our work lives, we are standing at a crossroads. We're making choices right now that will define the future of what it means to work. The question isn't if we'll work with AI, it's how. And research basically lays out two clear paths forward. We can focus on what's called labor-displacing AI, tech that's just designed to automate and replace what humans do. That path often leads to lower wages and less job security. Or we can focus on labor-reinstating AI, technology that actually creates new kinds of tasks for humans, often working side by side with the AI, and that path has the potential to boost wages and create more stable jobs. So look, a better future with AI isn't just going to happen on its own. It has to be built. And the principles are pretty clear. We need to demand transparency in how AI is making decisions. We need to make sure there's always meaningful human oversight. We should be focusing on tech that augments our skills, not just replacing them. And above all, we have to prioritize fairness and the well-being of the actual people at the center of all this change. Every single time a company rolls out a new system, every time a developer writes a new piece of code, a choice is being made. We are actively defining this new, complex, and deeply intimate relationship between humans and machines. So the final question really is for all of us: what kind of relationship do we actually want to build?